Hello and welcome to the Mediocrity 4 on the RWBY podcast.
And we are pretty short-handed today, so we don't really have a moderator. We'll see how that goes, but I am Robert.
I'll do my best.
We're all going to hell. I have a giant box of cookies, and I'm not sharing any. Fuck off. These are mine.
Aw.
I am sucker.
Yeah, we got a skeleton crew for the skeleton episode, and because my internet can't handle both voice chat and video at the same time, we don't have cameras, so.
Which is fun. I didn't do my hair with my face.
It kind of sucks because I shaved today, so it's just like I got baby face now. In fact, I bet for you two won't be able to see it until the podcast comes up, but.
Okay, I can do that.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, we start off the episode. Everyone's kind of gathered in the living room and stuff. I mean, it's basically like it's pretty much we actually got the first bit of this.
This is it. This is what I look like now. All right, I'm getting that out of there.
Yay! But yeah, if you saw like the RWBY Rewind preview, that's basically what it was here. Like that was the first couple minutes of this with everyone just gathered in front of the fire. Maria's reading. Turns out she's reading a journal of the person who owned the farm, and the man's name is Bartleby, which is kind of a spoiler because it's a reference to Bartleby the Scrivener.
Is that like a commonly known story though? I remember I read it as a kid.
Not really. It was written by so it was written by the same man who wrote Moby Dick, but it's one of his lesser known works, and
I had like a collection
all
of
the way
stuff
back in the 1850s. So it's like a quick Google search, So yeah, I had to Google it and stuff like that to know what it was about, but yeah, so it's not a huge spoiler, it's not like if his name had been like Ichabod.
I mean, especially since they don't give the audience time to like Google it before the shit starts happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it's not like, if his name had been Ichabod, we'd have been like, oh, this horseman.
Or even if they would have revealed that last week.
Yeah. So it's like it's still it's not a huge spoiler, but it's a cool little reference there. And so she basically talks about how, they were having, they were trying to be self-reliant and stuff like that on this farm, but they were having a lot of problems with a lot of things, including Grimm. And then Ruby goes to, talk to Crow and see what the plan is for the next night. The storm's letting up, and Crow apparently found the liquor. Yeah, apparently found the bar because he's got like 3 bottles of liquor around him, and so Ruby's, kind of like, hey, are you okay? And he kind of has that moment of like, Ruby,
yeah, sure.
I'm fucking not, but sure. And so Ruby tells everyone to lie down, and we're gonna get going as early as we can tomorrow. Unfortunately, because of the apathy and because Crow, got way too drunk and stuff like that, and they all passed out, they end up sleeping in, and and Ruby goes in, and finds that he's clearly drunk and stuff like that, had way too much to drink. That's why he didn't wake them up. She basically only wakes up because he dropped something, and and the way she jumps up makes me think she was having some sort of nightmare, so maybe she's still a little haunted by what happened up here. But I also like that, like when Ruby basically takes the bottle and just smashes it, because I feel like that's Ruby being kind of like, I don't know. I like the range of emotions we get in that interaction where Ruby, like sees the bottle, gets, tries to wake him up, gets kind of annoyed that he doesn't wake up, picks up the bottle and just gets kind of mad and just chucks it and stuff like that, and then kind of has that like softening moment of okay, I got to calm down. He's going through a rough time and stuff like that, and he's my uncle. I love him and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really kind of sweet moment, but it was cool to see just Ruby, without really saying anything, going through a very understandable range of emotions. I like that. But yeah, and so they wake everyone up and they answered one of our questions from last week, which is since when do motorcycles come with trailer hitches? And so
They do now. They do now.
yeah, Weiss, I guess welds one in or something like that, which I appreciate. They're addressing those little things that we're wondering about. That's something I really enjoyed.
And the thing, it's so funny because they didn't actually have to go that extra mile, but they did anyway. Like that could have stayed just a stupid freaking joke.
Yeah, we'd have joked about it, and we'd have been all like, "Oh, they didn't." It's like with the shrinking relic and stuff like that. We would have. That's something I'm really liking about this volume, is that we're looking at these things and we're kind of noticing these things and just kind of laughing at them. We're like, "Oh, it's a shrinking relic, ha 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 ha." Oh, how are they going to drive with that trailer hitch, ha 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 ha. But they're like actually kind of taking these things seriously and actually taking the time to answer these questions, which is good. It shows that they're thinking about these small things and addressing them. So that's really nice. But unfortunately, the trailer busts a tire, and
damn it, Crow.
Yeah, and Maria is just unknown. I'm assuming she doesn't know about his semblance, so I'm assuming that she's unknowingly pushing all the wrong buttons there, where she's like, "Oh man, you guys are just magnets for bad luck, are you?" And he's just like, "Lady," yeah, kind of like, "Lady, you have no idea. Shut up." And so, but yeah, and so they and so basically everybody's again saying I'm tired and stuff like that, and they're kind of like Weiss again is like, why do we even bother go to Atlas, and Oscar's kind of like, really we're just delaying the inevitable. They're kind of like, hey, this is probably as good a hiding spot for us as any, just toss it down the well. And this was the part of the episode that freaked me out the most, was Weiss, Blake, and Yang, their eyes just all glazed over, looking at Ruby all expectantly while she's like,
one of us.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those, one of us things. Yeah, that to me was the scariest part of this episode. That was the moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, that was freaky. So, but yeah, so Ruby, goes to put it over, hesitates, decides not to, and then something looks at her from out of the well and she drops it. And
to be fair, I would too.
yeah, I do not blame her for that, but she's like, no, we have to go down there, we have to get it. And fortunately, they still have enough will of their own to decide, okay, yeah, we'll go with you and stuff. And Oscar goes looking for a trailer wheel, and Crow goes to refill on alcohol, both his flask and his body, and
surprise.
Which I really appreciate, because again, show's about Team RWBY, so Oscar's doing something else because he's a farm boy. He would know how to find a tire on a farm, and Crow's off getting drunk, which I'm sure he's gonna they're going to, I don't know.
Actually, a nice little thing too. It's just like when you can tell Crow's pissed because he's actually just using the fandom's name for Oscar.
Yeah, and I do like how, and also I think that I'm sure a lot of the thing, Crow's gonna have to deal with a lot of what he did, or a lot of his, just a lot of what he let happen this episode, and how I do think his drinking kind of got out of control this episode. So he's gonna have to deal with that. Which
I have things to say about that in response to what people on a different Discord have been saying.
Yeah. But from an emotional perspective, it's kind of like, oh, poor Crow, he's in a really bad place and stuff like that. But also oh man, he's gonna be feeling really terrible about this in the aftermath, isn't he? But from a storytelling perspective, I'm glad that, Crow's out of the way, Oscar's out of the way, just Team RWBY and Maria. Good. And so, yeah, they go down there, and RWBY runs into the apathy while around the same time that Maria's starting to, look through the journal and get an idea of what happened. I think, well, yeah, Bartleby found a solution. The huntsman, pointed them out to him, turns the page, apathy. RWBY turns the corner, apathy. Lots and lots of apathy, which is what these Grimm are. I like that. I don't know. It reminds me a lot of like the silence from Doctor Who and stuff like that they call
I was thinking
they call the collective. Like the fact that they call like them as a collective, these.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was thinking they're more like redeads from Zelda, from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Write down to being underneath a well.
Yeah.
And the Shadow Temple.
Yeah, the idea
freaking RWBY went to the Shadow Temple
thing and slowing people down thing that is very redeads from Legend of Zelda. It's just
RWBY was
as a collective. The apathy made me think the silence.
Yeah,
RWBY
was the only one.
I've actually played Zelda.
Yeah, RWBY was the only one who was mashing A fast enough.
Yeah,
and so they were getting sucked up. Fucking things.
Yeah, and so they all go running. Maria joins them, and we
get silver eyes. We get silver eyes.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah, we see them, and RWBY uses the silver eyes first of all when like they're getting right up to Blake, and she's like, "It's fine," and then RWBY like blasts them, but then she gets slowed down again, and Maria's all like, "Wait a minute," And
like, what the
I believe
that?
I'm glad that we see like things from Maria's perspective here, so it's all like, okay, she's colorblind, she can't tell from just how blurry her eyes are.
She's so blue then, fucking outfit.
Yeah, so then Maria gives RWBY a use the force speech. I mean, if you don't do this, everyone you love is going to die and you're better than that speech. I mean, she tells her that life is precious and it has to be protected speech. Gives her a pep talk, and RWBY uses her silver eyes this time stronger to basically disintegrate them. Or at least the ones that are there, there's more behind them, so...
She had that Ultra Instinct glint on her eyes before she went.
So thanks to RWBY and Maria, they're able to get out of there, and Weiss burns the house down. And then we get the reveal, confirming all of our theories that Maria is, in fact, an ex-Silver-Eyed Warrior.
Yep. Which we all pretty much knew, so...
We knew she was important to some extent, and I think I'm the one who predicted Silver-Eyed Warrior. In fact, I remember... 3 weeks ago now.
I think a lot of people thought about it when we saw her, when we saw like that visual from the trailer and stuff like that. I remember I saw that and was all like, Silver-Eyed Warrior, but you guessed like before that.
I went one step beyond after the flashback or during the flashback episode, because one of Ozma's reincarnations had like the same skin tone. And it looked like his kids had silver eyes. So, the crackpot theory, tinfoil fedora on, I think that's going to actually be a reveal, because she has silver eyes. That's her importance, but she didn't know RWBY had silver eyes, so that's not why we still don't actually know why she turned back and joined them in the first place.
Yeah.
Now, and I think it will have something to do with her silver eyes, and we'll probably find out next episode, assuming next episode doesn't, spend all of its time away from Team RWBY, because one thing I wanted to address is the fact that, when binge-watching this volume, this is basically 30 straight minutes of Team RWBY, and no one else interfering. Yep. From 5 minutes into the last episode all the way through this episode. This episode does not break at all, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
There's nothing there to really break the tension that they're trying to build. There's other issues with the tension.
Unless you count the Blake scene, apparently that whole "I'm fine" line kind of threw a lot of people out of the...
Well, that's because people don't actually like Blake, and they kind of wanted her to get scarred, or is that just me?
That, I'm abstaining from this conversation.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but... also something that
You go first.
Okay. Something else that I really liked about this. So yesterday like you said, yeah, we have like 30 uninterrupted minutes of just Team Ruby and stuff like that. And I rewatched the previous episode and this episode. And one thing I really liked was there was a little bit of foreshadowing in the previous episode where Ruby says, more alcohol. Well, at least we'll never have a problem starting a fire. And lo and behold, the very next episode, Weiss uses the alcohol to burn the house down and stuff like that. And I'm assuming it looks like her scarf, and I think she had a suitcase with her. I'm assuming those got burned too.
Can I just say, fuck you, I was right on the fact that Weiss and Yang were kind of the first two to get infected by the apathy.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, that you were right about how like everyone, but although it looked like
the whole I'm tired, like that was written.
Yeah,
that was the last.
That's how you know that they've been got.
That was the last word. That was the last sentence in the journal. Just I'm tired, and then it ends.
Tired. Yeah, that's kind of that's going to be the new I don't feel so good for the RWBY fandom.
Well, okay, maybe.
Maybe not to that extent.
Just for the RWBY fandom, not like widespread.
Yeah.
But I like how. But yeah, and so I just love that little bit of foreshadowing there. Like, again, just those little things that they're thinking about that I thought was really good. And there was something else. But yeah, like you said, when people are someone saying I'm tired, that means that they've been got by the apathy. And yeah, you were also right that, Ruby and Maria were the last. Yeah, we're kind of the last ones standing. And I like that. I don't know. I saw some people in our Discord kind of like, oh, why does lady have more will than everyone else? Let's look at the last 3 episodes here, okay? Let's look at what these characters have been through these last 3 episodes. Team RWBY just found out that they're basically on a suicide mission, that Salem cannot be killed, and that the person they all this time does not have a plan. And Maria took that better than everyone. So it does make sense, and it makes sense that Ruby is the, second to last to go down because she's she's Ruby. She's always been chipper. She's always been cheerful. But it also makes sense that Maria's, the one remaining in control because we see through these episodes, they've done a pretty good job of characterizing her, by the way, that she's kind of this, stubborn old lady, don't tell me when to go to bed, kid, I'm older than you, and stuff like that. And, she took the news about Ozpin better than every.
Well, it's not just that though.
Keeping her will longer than anyone else. So I like that.
It's not just that though. She's the one who doesn't even have a long-term plan. She's just along for the ride. She's waiting for them. Like she was already just sitting around waiting for them to get going. Yeah. There's nothing to apathy her. There's nothing for them to latch onto until she was in the tunnel trying to get them out of there. And then that's when it actually started to until she actually had a goal.
Until there's danger that she needs to deal with. Yeah, that's also true.
Because honestly,
I like how.
What would have changed if she was just I'm tired? Nothing. Because she wasn't doing anything at that point.
Yeah,
I don't think that was intentional, but it's not a plot hole, so don't say it is.
Yeah.
I have some things to say in defense of this episode. Now, I do want to come right out and say I think last week's episode was way better. I think the first 2 episodes of this volume were better episodes than this one was. But there are 3 big things I want to make clear that I have heard thrown at this episode as criticism, as very poorly thought out criticisms against this episode. And one of them, I'll save one in particular for last week's, as that actually bridges into my complaints for the episode and why I don't think it's as good as last week's. So, first off, Crow's drinking problem hasn't been a problem since. This is literally the first time that they have actually been in danger while Crow is drunk. This is the first time ever in RWBY's entire life that Crow being inebriated could result in serious danger and damage. That is why she is worried.
Yeah.
Like, Volume 5, they were safe in the house. They were in the middle of a freaking city. Same thing with Volume 3. And in Volume 4, we didn't see him drunk at all. He got poisoned, and she was worried about him then. There's no reason to say that. Like, I've literally seen
the complaint that people are having is that
it's
feels
not.
like the first time
I
RWBY's...
hesitate to say people plural. Like, you know who you are if you're watching this. I kind of called you out last in my review.
First time Crow's been that like RWBY's been worried about Crow's drinking is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Like. Yeah. You're like this is the first time that it's really felt like it's getting out of control, and like. And yeah, Crow's at a low point in his life. He's just found out that the purpose he devoted himself to for years was basically pointless. And so it makes sense that, she's worried about him. And yeah, this is the first time that it's actually that we've really seen his drinking as a hindrance. And it's like, and the drinking is made like 10 times worse because of the apathy, he's becoming apathetic. He's caring less, so he's drinking more. So yeah, it's understandable that this is the first time RWBY's really been concerned about it. To our knowledge.
Yeah. So that's just one of those things that like I've seen levied at this, but it's only people.
Yeah.
The people who say
pointed out, Crow's a functioning alcoholic. He's relatively functional while inebriated. This is the first time that he's actually been, that he's actually stopped functioning as a result. This is probably the first time that he's actually slept in, and not woken up when he needed to because he was drunk. So.
Yeah, and the other thing, and that's just one of those things that like the people who complain about that are the kinds of people who completely ignore context, which is something that just like infuriates me. It's one of the reasons why I decided to become a YouTuber, is because so many like reviewers, particularly RWBY reviewers, they outright ignore context. Yeah. They ignore like what actually makes good storytelling, and they're latching onto these things like, oh, Crow's drinking has never been a problem before, therefore the entire volume is stupid.
I mean, you're right. It has never been a problem before.
Because it's literally never been a problem before. So the other thing, and I didn't think I would have to explain this, but I probably should have seen it coming, just because it gets thrown around so much. I shouldn't be surprised that it gets misconstrued so much. People are calling BS on the Silver Eyes because it's a quote-unquote Deus Ex Machina.
No, it fucking is not. A Deus Ex Machina would be the god of light, like descending down in a beam of light and vaporizing them.
A Deus Ex Machina is that scene in Devilman Crybaby where God intervenes and prevents a nuclear war halfway through the series, and then never shows up again, as the world gets completely destroyed anyway.
Yeah, like I said, this scene here, this is use the Force, Luke. This is the father-son Kamehameha. That is what happened here, Like, Maria was being the Obi-Wan or the Goku on RWBY's shoulder here to help her use the powers that she's always had, that we've seen her have before, we've seen her use before, and we've seen the limits of before, and we still see the limits of here because, she can't, because if it was a Deus Ex Machina, or like if it was OP, she'd be able to just walk through these tunnels, like looking around, just looking at all of them with her eyes blaring.
Or she would have, when she blared her eyes, it would have like cleared out the entire cavern, but apparently no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is not it. Yeah, but no, they still had to book it from these things. They still had to bust out of there and run. They still had to get out of there. They had to run from these Grimm.
Well, not only that. Okay, so here's the official definition of a Deus Ex Machina. It means God from the machine,
Yeah.
It's a plot device whereby seemingly unsolvable problems in a story is suddenly and abruptly resolved by an unexpected and seemingly unlikely occurrence. Typically so much as to seem contrived. Its function can be... Not using Silver Eyes would be a freaking Deus Ex.
Yeah. If all of a sudden Ruby's Silver Eyes just stopped working.
Yeah. If all of a sudden the exact same triggers that made her use the Silver Eyes in the past didn't work this time, it would be a Deus Ex. The new Clavi was beaten by a Deus Ex. Oh, High Power's jumping in for a few minutes, I guess. I'm on a soapbox right now about Deus Ex Machinas.
And how Silver Eyes is not one.
Yeah. So the new Clavi from Volume 4, that was a Deus Ex Machina. Because the reason why they were able to get, not defeat the new Clavi. Defeating the new Clavi was fine. But getting out of that city and getting Crow to safety when they did, that was a Deus Ex Machina, because every other time, the Grimm just disappear when they die. Whereas the new Clavi created an entire plume of smoke so big that the local, travelers were able to see it. That had never happened before. That was contrived.
As I said during there, Team Ranger was saved by the Forest Service looking for wildfires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ruby using a power that we've always known she had, that she's had since Volume 3, and we've seen before, and and it's one of those things where it's like, we're looking at this and it's like, okay, she's gonna get out of this because Silver Eyes, duh.
I mean, yeah, is it a Deus Ex Machina? No, I mean, it's been established pretty early on. We just haven't seen, the actual mechanics of it. I will say this too, because I can basically talk as much as I'd like on the way to helping out my parents.
Okay.
I think here's what I really liked about this episode was I liked how they dealt with Crow in the easiest but most if you consider alcoholism not an issue, but they dealt with him in a very effective and simple way, and I appreciate how they dealt with him like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna go and get drunk again.
This is the only time as we were talking about this earlier, it's like this is the only time his alcohol has actually been a hindrance.
Yeah, this is the first time that it's been a problem, so yeah.
Yeah. Then the other thing I wanted to say, and this is in response to a reviewer who I don't think he's particularly good at reviewing the show. I still subscribe to him because he's a cool dude and he's actually like a friend.
Awkward.
So it's someone that Kitty introduced me to. He'll remain nameless, but he knows who he is. Talk about he liked this just to point this out. He liked this episode probably more than I did. Okay. But his complaint was the Grimm itself, which was something that didn't bother me. That was not my complaint with the episode. He said that the Grimm are just not a threat. They've never been treated as a threat. And don't have to be portrayed as a threat previously in order to come off as threatening. You don't have to kill people on screen in order to be threatening. And here's the analogy.
I would appreciate it, but
And here's the analogy I came up with. What is inherently more scary? A benevolent or malevolent evil spirit who lurks in the shadows, can kill you in one hit, and will rip your teeth out and use it as a mask, or a dude with a knife. What's inherently more scary?
I would like to say the first option.
Yeah, first.
Well, okay. I have a gun.
Okay, high power.
I mean, I guess.
Well, okay, then someone might want to explain. Someone might want to explain to me why the original Halloween movie is so much scarier than Darkness Falls.
That's because of the character stuff.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, I also just don't do scary movies, so that's the other thing. So I have no opinion.
I feel I don't know.
Because
I
just described the
visualizing,
monster. I just
so.
described the monster from Darkness Falls, and I just described Michael Myers.
Right. Yeah, and I see what you're saying there, and you are, and I mean, to be fair, like, yeah,
an effective scary movie will be scary every time you watch it, even when you know everything that's gonna happen, even when you know who lives and who dies. An effective scary movie will always be scary. Alien to this day scares me. Same thing with Yeah. My mom's doing laundry. She's like, yep.
Nice.
She's the one who's like way more into scary movies than I am.
She's calling you out on your weediness.
And a lot of that has to do with filmmaking techniques, and this bridges into my complaint with this episode. Last week's episode did a lot better job with the atmosphere, with the music, with the tone, with that unsettling feeling than this episode did. This episode felt very flat in a lot of the production. Like, it was not scary at all the second time around.
Yeah, like even that, like I said, that the scene of that one of us scene, was the part that freaked me out the most. But it would have been a lot scarier if it had been like dimly lit or something like that with like lights under their eyes or something. Like just what we see there. It's just kind of like it's still kind of freaky, but in like a Twilight Zone kind of way. But not like this episode was. I don't know. I feel like it's as scary as RWBY gets. Like, it's the scariest episode that they've done so far, except for like last week's. But
I mean, you can definitely tell that's what they were going for. They at least tried.
Yeah, but you can tell that they tried, which is good. But it was kind of like, I don't know.
This kind of goes back to something I said in my review for last week's episode. The talent is actually still the same as since Volume 1. We are still dealing with Miles and Carrie.
Yeah, we're still dealing with the same talent, but they're trying harder, so that's good.
Yeah.
And so
they mentioned on like a tweet that this was like one of the first episodes they played.
I wanted to.
This was one of the first
I wanted to get into that. So, this scenario, I have no idea how much it changed from that first core idea till now. Probably a lot. But when like brainstorming different types of Grimm and what they do, they came up with this idea of a Grimm that basically drains your will to move on and drains your will to even like get out of bed. So you just lay there and let yourself starve to death or die of thirst while just sleeping and never giving up. Which
and I'm assuming
is
that's
an
not their
extremely screwed up way to go. Just watching yourself just deteriorate in real time.
Yeah. Although I'm assuming that that's not their usual MO, because Maria talks about how they
were trapped. They were trapped in the sewer, so they probably would wait until they're passed out and then eat them.
Yeah.
But they weren't able to do that.
And like we see in the like when they're running through the tunnels, we see a skeleton, they're in the tunnels lying there, and all decomposed and stuff like that. I'm assuming that their usual MO is kind of what they were trying to do to like, they get you just lie there all cathartic, all peaceful, like, it's fine. These things are shredding me, are skinning me alive, but it's fine, which also a really screwed up way to go and stuff like that. But so I'm assuming the usual MO is, hey, that skeleton looks way too peaceful for what apparently happened to it, and they seem a little too, like, I don't know, and there's no signs of a struggle. Oh shit, apathy. But all they see is people who just died in their sleep because the apathy couldn't, get out of the cellar and kill them.
Yeah, and we also have confirmation that this is Miles' favorite Grimm that he's been hyping up since the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
Figures.
Did you ever find out what Carrie's was?
I think Carrie's. I can't remember.
It was the Manticores.
Yeah, I think he said it was the Manticores. Or,
I mean-
or was some, I remember he said that it's already been seen, so I can't remember what it was.
I mean,
I do find the apathy more like I think Miles' little favorite ones.
Which I really like how character-centric the apathy are. Because they're not just a big baddie that you gotta squash like an insect at the end. It's something that actually like gets in your head and brings out parts of yourself that aren't
like
all that
Weiss's
pleasant.
fear of going home or close alcohol.
Like Weiss. Weiss has been complaining about going back to Atlas from the beginning. Since this volume started.
Of volume 5.
Yeah. She didn't want to get auctioned back off to her freaking dad by the bandits back in volume 5. And so it really makes sense for when she's losing the will to go on. That it latches onto that's her reasoning. Whereas with Yang, it's like her anger at Ozpin starts to like really come to the surface. Blake doesn't get a whole lot to do in these episodes.
Even though she's seemingly the one who's affected the most by it, because she is the one that just becomes the most complacent and like.
Well, that's because she was that's because she was the closest to the apathy. She was they were crawling right up on her.
Yeah, Blake has the most meme-worthy response to the Grimm affecting her.
They've already done it.
This is fine. Yeah, this is fine. That's fine.
Yeah, they've already done that. They've already done that meme.
I mean, I like the precedent too of just the lore implications of, out in the woods, there's just like a chance you could run into like a really weird Grimm. And I mean, it's almost like the same thing, like media would understand this too. It's like running into a stand user in JoJo's that's got like a really powerful but fucked up stand.
Yeah.
And I do, and as we already pointed out, like it makes sense why Maria and RWBY were the least affected and stuff like that and able to save the day, because Maria was, took the news about Ozpin the best, and RWBY is RWBY, so.
I'm curious what it means she was a Silver-Eyed Warrior. Was it like, was her
the fact that she doesn't have her eyes anymore, she has to use those goggles.
Yeah, did someone pluck her eyes out a la Naruto? Or did they get burned out from overuse or something? Yeah.
And
I made a joke about that yesterday, where it's like a plot twist. This was actually just a long con for Monty's Naruto AU fanfic. they're gonna defeat Salem using a Sun and Moon tattoo.
Salem is Kaguya.
But the reverse harem jutsu might work on Salem. Just do a bunch of shadow clones of all the different forms of Ozma.
Yeah, I
was gonna say that.
Yeah. If the reverse harem is just all of Ozpin's past lives, yeah.
I mean, I feel like the episode, whenever I watched it like this on second and third viewings, I mean, it's a 20-minute episode, but it honestly feels like a 15 or like a 14-minute long episode.
I think that's part of the problem. The pacing is so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the expediency, but I don't know how much is lost in the translation because of the expediency, though. Is a real question that I have, but
yeah, again, it did feel a little rushed. That's been like my only real complaint with this volume, is it feels a little rushed, but
I don't know, like I watched
this is the interesting thing too that I brought up a little bit too. It's like the first arc of this volume for the main cast is over. So now we're gonna start the next arc, and we still aren't even at the halfway point in this volume. Two more episodes.
Yeah, and I pointed this out, like, we've already seen everything that like was spoiled in the trailer and everything that was hinted at in the except for John's confrontation with Oscar. That's the only thing we haven't seen yet, which I'm assuming means we're going to see Team Junior next episode. But
Yeah, I think now's the time for Team Junior.
yeah, either we see them arriving in Argos and going to Team RWBY, or maybe they get to Argos and run into them there or something. Maybe they catch up to them. Who knows? But yeah. And yeah, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, like that I'm glad that they kind of, that the whole thing in the cellar was just, and the like well and stuff like that was just Team RWBY and Maria. But I am, I am curious to see where like Crow's character goes from here, because we see when like they're, when like they're dragging him out of the house and he's seeing, the burning apathy and stuff like that, and they're kind of like, and he kind of has that like just that look on his face. Either he's had an experience, like either he's run into these Grimm before, maybe, or what I'm thinking is that maybe there was like, maybe it was also just that moment, like just that in rush of holy crap, all that apathy just disappeared, and I just realized how dire our situation was. Also, I'm thinking that there might be a little bit of like guilt in there of like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be the responsible adult. I'm supposed to be the one looking out for these kids, and I was totally up here getting blackout drunk while they were in the well fighting, though, dealing with those things.
And the fact that they're running for their lives says a lot.
Yeah, exactly. They were down there running for their lives, trapped down there, while I was blackout drunk at 10 a.m. in the morning. I think that there might be a little bit of guilt there of like.
I want to add something before I go, and I might hop back in and out whenever I can. But the potential, if Weiss is able to summon the apathy, as one of her summons, I feel like that would be a very powerful summon to use.
It would be cool, but like as far as we know, like she didn't kill any of them. She just set them on fire. It's just like yeah, you didn't kill the zombie. You just made it a burning zombie.
Who knows? But I will be hopping off, and I might hop back on. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, Akar.
And all my problems with this episode are from a production standpoint, so it's hard to actually just describe the fact that so much of the like the most narratively tense moment is in the bright daytime featureless white town, which the most tense moment is when RWBY starts to like hold the relic, and Yang's like, just throw it into the well. We'll never have to deal with it again.
Yeah, like I said, that's the freakiest moment of the entire episode.
Because the audience interaction in that is like, no, because we know there's something down there. We know from last episode there was something under the cellar, and it's gonna get the relic, and then Salem's gonna get it. And no, RWBY.
RWBY, don't stop. Cease and desist.
Don't let it go.
I like how
I got
this.
so many Lord of the Rings flashbacks. I really just need to watch that trilogy again.
I do too. I wish all three movies were on Netflix. This is unfair. How can you have one Lord of the Rings movie but not them all? But I like how they found something for all the characters to do. Like, I think Blake has the least to do, but like Weiss and Yang hook up Bumblebee. Maria gives the exposition with the silver eyes in the speech, and figures out what the apathy are and what they do. RWBY has her silver eyes, and she's the one who actually like. She's the leader. She's the leader of the team, and she really shows why in this episode.
And Blake's the damsel in distress. No.
Yeah.
Weiss is lines for Blake's there for like one-liners, and
yeah, Weiss is the one who actually burns the house down. Crow starts off. Yeah, Crow starts off like helping with the cart or the trailer, and then starts to pout when his semblance pops a tire.
Yeah.
And he.
I'm starting to become more and more okay with Crow's semblance. I don't know.
Well,
In
it's
this
more-
episode, at least, I still think it's kind of like
It's
I
a
still
dumb
think
symbol.
it's
Like, how is
kind of
that? How is
dumb,
that how is that more absurd than turning into a bird? Or
Yeah.
how's that less absurd?
Well, we just need it needs to happen more often for it to like, be more of like a factor.
I don't know. Yeah, they need to fix like the structure of it or something. But I don't know. But I did but again, I did appreciate that line from Maria, like just that.
You're just
I
a
don't know,
bad
that
luck, aren't you?
self-loathing that he's dealing with, where Maria's like, "Man, you guys just attract all the bad luck," and he's just like, "Do not start with me right now, woman." Like,
Where are you going? What do you think?
yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And
And I
then-
do like kind of the, I don't know. Yep. Yeah. And so apparently a lot of Bumblebee shippers are really excited for this episode because Yang and Blake held hands. I'm assuming that that's just that, like, because like we see when like Ruby kills them and stuff like that, she has to help Blake up and get her up the stairs. And I'm assuming that that's also what happened here when
They're both
Blake
really
grabs her hand. Is it's like she's still weak. She's still like the one who was point blank on those things and stuff like that. So she still needs help and stuff like that. I'm assuming that's what that was.
Yeah, like that's that. I mean, like, I can see where people are talking about that, but like at the
But
time,
it's like
this is not a moment for that. This is not a
yeah,
moment
it's like
for that.
yeah, that was not the time for like a Bumblebee moment. So I'm pretty sure it was just like, okay, she's still weak. Grab her hand and get her out.
I mean,
of here.
there's also a freezer burn moment in this episode, so let's
yeah,
not ignore
White,
that.
yeah, Yang reaching upwards in Weiss's general direction. Although I'm assuming she was actually reaching for the door. But anyway, yeah, she's reaching for Weiss.
Life is an open door, Robert. Let me have this.
Yeah.
Love is an open door. To get out of the cellar.
But yeah, anyway.
Here's
no,
a silly.
it's a
here's
locked door.
Here's a silly nitpick. Did Maria like drop down into that well like they all did? Wouldn't that like just destroy her knees?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if she was a
Hey, my dad
Silver Eye
has-
warrior, she probably knows some aura techniques. So I'm just.
Hey, my dad's 54. He's had chronic back problems since before I was born. He still goes skiing. He still takes 2 weeks off of work every year to go skiing. You'd be surprised what people can do when they want to.
As long as she's not doing superhero landings, she's fine.
There we go. Those are harder than these. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And there was something else that I was thinking about in this episode that I liked, but yeah, I do agree that again, it's not a very scary episode.
Someone
I did
pointed
kind
out
of like the POV shots few POV shots that we got.
someone pointed out that they have either some new eye rigging stuff or they're able to put some filters on their eyes to make them look super dilated when they're all apathetic.
Well, yeah, you saw like when they're running, like Weiss's eyes are just like these little dots. It's just like, oh no.
Yeah, like Yang's eyes start to kind of. I mean, I think it's most noticeable in Yang and stuff like that, because like the purple of her eyes starts to blend in with her pupils and stuff like that, and like I think like when she's reaching towards the door and stuff like that, we see like I think we see her eyes just turn completely purple, but yeah, that's the most like noticeable thing, and I'm assuming it's just because of like the color palette. They couldn't really do it with like Weiss and Blake because there's more of a contrast between their pupils and what's around them. I don't remember what the term is, but yeah.
Dilated.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting thing, kind of one of those. Oh, and yeah, someone kind of pointed out like, what the heck is going on here? And it's like, yeah, that means that something's wrong.
Yeah, I kind of want. Okay, so I don't like Blake. She's my least favorite of the main girls.
No,
I would
really?
I would like for them to find something for her to do that doesn't revolve around Adam
or Yang.
Yeah.
Well, even the Yang stuff revolves around Adam because it's all guilt over the loss of her arm.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like they're still struggling to find something for her to do. I don't know.
Which they had been struggling with.
USJW bullshit.
No.
And be the and
Oh, no,
be
they
like
haven't
an
done that.
abuse
They
victim.
haven't really done that this volume.
Yeah, which is good.
They're saving it all for Genlock.
But yeah, she's still.
Don't get started. Let's not get started on that.
But yeah, she is. But yeah, she is still like
But Sock, this
girl
is the
who is in a
episode.
bad relationship.
This is the episode that started off with
No.
10 seconds of Genlock footage.
No.
I skipped it. Fuck it.
Same
God,
here.
it was such a mess.
I don't know. I'm not as. I don't know. I'm not as like, oh, it's gonna be terrible as everyone else is, but I just don't care.
That's pretty much.
I just don't give a fuck.
I'm in
But
the boat.
anyway, if it's
for,
good, I'll be happy. But I really don't care.
For me, I'm just gonna say something. They missed a huge opportunity for like. I already know we have like a Horseman Grimm or something like that, but they missed I feel like they missed an opportunity here, like by not having like another kind of like a slightly like maybe even more like a more grotesque, like creepy crawly type of Horseman Grimm than the Knuckleavi. Because I mean, you have the name of the freaking farm pointing to like the headless horseman and stuff like that.
Brunswick.
You've got everyone like died in their sleep. It's fucking. You could have titled the fucking episode "Sleepy Hollow" and everyone would have fucking gotten it. Like it was a fucking. Yeah,
I'm glad that the Grimm here wasn't a big boss Grimm, and that it was actually just a bunch of smaller Grimm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love the apathy.
But I do like that they had to run from them and stuff like that. Couldn't just kill them all. They had to run from them mostly because of numbers and stuff like that. Like too many of them was slowing you down.
And they were everywhere. Everywhere they turn, there's just more and more of them.
Well, yeah, it's like you just kind of like what's that one zombie? I don't keep up to date on my zombie games, but it's just like if you have like an invisibility mod on. You just go in, just like playing like Left 4 Dead, and none of the zombies are attacking you. You're just like, oh no, fuck this. I want no part of this.
I don't know. I didn't play Left 4 Dead. Sorry.
I don't know. It's like what? It's like more. I think it's like one of the more realistic.
Banshees?
No. It's not specifically talking about Left 4 Dead. I'm just talking about like in that aspect of like these just mass hordes of zombies. Like it's not just like. It's fuck. It's like this one where you're like this like mechanic guy, and you're like, it's not actually that important, but just having like a mass like zombie Grimm are actually pretty cool. Like, don't get me wrong, but their main attraction is like their scream that just completely like wrecks you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, again, that was the redance from Zelda, so.
Yeah. I didn't like those things. I didn't like those things. I said nope. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna attack it. I'm gonna attack a chicken and just end my game. I'm done doing this.
Oh, I don't know.
Cuckoos are OP.
Yeah, I know. I go out on my own terms. Damn it.
Yeah, I do. I will say this, and I've also said this on the Discord. I really don't want this to be the last time we see the apathy. I do off monster. Like from now on, every time there is a horde of Grimm, I want there to just be like a handful of apathy in there and like
kill those first.
Yeah,
kill those first.
And everybody's just like, kill those first, damn it. And yeah, because I think that would be, I don't know. I think that could be a really interesting thing. I think it'd be cool to see like, I don't know, if we ever get like some big battle between like a bunch of huntsmen and a Grimm, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see like one guy, just clearing through a bunch of Beowulfs like they're nothing, and then sees an apathy, and he's kind of like, what the fuck is that? And then like it screams at him, he's like, oh snap, oh no, my weapon's getting heavier and stuff like that. Keeps fighting, he keeps screaming, and like he keeps getting heavier and heavier. Finally, like a Beowulf just, I don't know. I think that would be really cool. So I think that would be and again, it's just another way to make the Grimm feel, threatening, like a credible like threat and stuff like that. And it's like, kill those things first, damn it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're slow, but they're fucking tanky as shit.
Yeah, that's true. Ruby shoots a couple of them, and yeah, so it looks like they're also pretty durable, which is also good. But yeah.
I don't know, but this just leads to like instead of just like having like weird like physical attributes, which are still really cool. Like you could have Grimm with like more like aura based abilities. And it's kind of like it's something all right, but it's just like I mean you got Grimm like
good news. I think this is the most we've talked about Grimm in a very long time.
I'm happy about
I've said this on numerous occasions. Any day that the Grimm are a threat is a good day.
Yeah. So these are these are good Grimm. These are very unique Grimm that you can see a lot of ways in which it would be really cool to see them again later on. So yeah, good job on this one. I can see why these are Miles's favorites.
I mean, like literally, like the Grimm are the selling point for me on the show. It's like, I mean, sure, you got like the cute girls fighting Grimm, but like but the Grimm are the selling point. You've got all these wide varieties of shit.
Yeah.
You got Barangles, you got Lancers, you got Stalkers, which we really don't see much of, to be honest.
Yeah. And we also talked about the Chimera Grimm, realizing that it was a Chimera.
Yeah, well, apparently
have they officially dubbed it a Chimera?
No, apparently, like,
I don't think so.
Like, they're Chimera subspecies of Grimm, so it's like you've got Manticore and the big one was a Sphinx or something like that, apparently.
Hmm.
Which I was like, okay, whatever, it's fine.
It's a Chimera, damn it.
Yes.
It has a snake for a tail. That's a fucking Chimera.
I know.
But anyway.
But everyone else is telling me different, so I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll call it the Sphinx. I don't give a shit.
I don't know. I guess that's kind of also the issue that people have with like that's not a dragon Grimm. But
okay, no, that's different because the Chimera, even though by definition it just means something that is a blend of other species, but the Chimera is specifically a lion, snake, and goat hybrid, whereas a wyvern is literally just a classification of dragon. It's just a dragon that has 4 limbs instead of 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is actually much more evolutionarily viable, because any animal that has wings because they kind of evolved from 4 limbs. So like bats, they had arms and legs, and then they had those arms turned into wings. Same thing with birds and even insects, and especially like pterosaurs, but insects as well. They just had more legs, and then some of those legs turned into wings.
Yeah. But and I do also like kind of that tragic story of what happened with like Bartleby's estate and stuff like that, which so the story of Bartleby. Well, yeah, so like that's a reference to like Bartleby the Scrivener, which is basically the story of a man who
we already covered that.
Yeah, becomes more and more forlorn and depressed until eventually he dies of starvation because even eating became too much of a bother. But I do like the I don't know. It is just that very tragic thing of like, and I don't know. Maybe part of the reason we're talking so much about the Grimm in this one is because this episode is like very much about the Grimm, like the apathy and what they did and stuff like that. What they did to these people, that like, he led 2 of them into like the basement into the cellar of his home to try and keep everyone calm so that the rest of the Grimm wouldn't show up. Unfortunately, a bunch of the others followed those 2 and had to seal the entire thing off, and everybody just eventually lost all their will to do anything. So that was sad.
I'm still gonna fight for a fucking Spider Grimm to pop up in the goddamn show.
I still want my dinosaur. I still want my dinosaur Grimm.
Yeah.
There's This is a longer episode, but because it's so straightforward, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about. And also because
there's not a lot of action.
There's not high powered here to derail our conversation. Even though he's supposed to be moderating.
Damn it, high power.
Yeah. I do like how
because we've been going for an hour now, and
yeah.
So I'm
pretty much covered a lot of it. I don't know. I guess talking about the future, there's a few things here that I hope. So yeah, it looks like Weiss is kind of accepted that they're gonna have to go to Atlas, which I am, I understand, but I do hope that we still get kind of that.
We actually have character arcs.
I do not want to deal with my dad and my family and stuff like that.
They actually do character arc, but from like episode this first half of the volume basically gave a character arc to all 4 of the main girls, using the same inciting incident and the same structure to push every single character onto that path, because they were all there during the train wreck that was volume 5, and then they were also all there for the train wreck of the actual train wreck, and they were all there when Jin said that Osmond doesn't have a plan. That like really started to drive a rift in the entire group. Because that's when you started having Weiss being like, okay, do we really have to? You heard what Jin said, and now like they were confronted by the literal apathy. By the this is why I don't like the name the apathy, is because it's so on the nose.
On the nose,
yeah.
Like this whole arc. For the first six episodes, which another point in this volume's favor, Team RWBY has been in every single episode and have been the majority of every single episode. And aside from episode 4, each episode has continued to feel like its own isolated thing. Episode 4 is the only one that felt like straight up setup, which is why it's the worst episode of the volume so far.
Even then, it still did pretty okay. But yeah.
And with the maintained quality of these last few episodes, these last 2 episodes, this one and last week's, I'm starting to kind of like not like episode 3 as much. Because I feel like with episode 3, I was just like, I'll take what I can get. And I even said that, like, yeah, 3 good episodes in a row is kind of a stretch, but it's okay, I guess.
We all said that. I think we agreed that volume 3 was okay, but
no, episode 3, the flashback.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that was.
Oh, you said okay, you said volume 3.
Yeah, you just said.
Sorry, episode 3. Sorry, yeah, I meant episode 3 was okay because. Yeah, was like an okay episode. It wasn't phenomenal. It had those issues of the gods are douches, and Ozpin didn't really do anything and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I don't know. I basically said these gods are of the Greek are of the Greek god pettiness variety.
The pantheon of petty.
Because let's kind of go character by character and see like and we have. Should we count Oscar and Ozpin as one character? That's a very important question for this.
Let's split them.
Okay. I guess I gotta be the tiebreaker. I say we'll keep them separate. We'll say Ozma and Oscar.
Sure.
So
yeah.
And I'll just do my best to kind of break down what I think each of these people's arcs are. So RWBY. She's been challenged in these 2 episodes because she's the one who's trying to maintain positivity. She's the least apathetic of the whole group. She's the last one to get affected, but she does fall.
Yeah,
when confronted by her friends,
tired, so,
confronted by her friends, who all want to give up, she's willing to give up if they are, and that's. I think that could be very dangerous going forward for her.
Yeah.
if she lets her friends like kind of dictate her emotions. I don't think she will. I'm not sure. I don't think that's really where they're going with that. And then on top of this is the
Maybe
first
not
time
with Team
this
RWBY,
is
but
this is the first time that she's really fallen into apathy. We get the Silver Eyes, and we're gonna be getting that next episode. And so we'll finally probably see the limitations of that.
yeah, that is the important thing right there. The limitations.
Which where that
the
leaves
limits.
where that leaves Cinder, we'll
And the
have to we'll
weaknesses.
have to come back to that before we wrap this up. So with Weiss, it's her apathy towards not wanting to go home, not wanting to return to Atlas, and she's realizing that like she has to face her fears, she has to face the consequences of her actions, and she has to face the consequences of her father's actions to do the right thing. And after being confronted with her apathy and seeing RWBY power through it, she's willing now to go to Atlas and stop complaining. Hopefully she stops complaining. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Blake, as I said, has had the least to do this volume. I think she still is just like, I'm just glad I'm part of the main plot again for the first time since volume 2.
I'm glad to be included again and to have a chance to make things right because I fucked up last volume.
Yeah, her arc isn't
The last
resolved.
2 volumes.
Her arc isn't resolved because I don't think she gets it yet. I don't think she gets that Yang does not need Blake to baby her.
Yeah.
And with Yang, she's still suffering trauma and stuff. Like, her arc isn't really resolved either. But her arc in this volume has been focused around anger at Osmond, anger at the fact that her mom was right the whole time, and that she's going on this damn foolish idealistic crusade, as Obi-Wan would say.
Hey.
And I think she's not as willing. When she became apathetic, she wasn't as willing to just go along with what RWBY was saying. She actually confronted RWBY, and she was the one who like I think when Yang said just throw it in the well, that's kind of like what broke RWBY and what is what allowed the apathy to get to her. And then you have Crow,
Going through an existential crisis.
is going through an
because everything he
existential
fought for
crisis. Yeah, his entire life is pointless. Everything that he's been working for 20 plus years is a lie. There is no happy ending. All it is delaying the inevitable. I know it was actually Oscar that said that, but Crow's feeling very much the same way.
Yeah.
And
which is causing his alcohol to become slightly less functional, I think.
Yeah, and
I don't think that's entirely the apathy.
I think at the end, when he saw the apathy burning, he kind of like got it that his apathy nearly got his family killed. The only thing you see has left, those kids, RWBY and Yang, more specifically, almost got them killed because he wasn't. He's supposed to be the adult. He's supposed to be the huntsman.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the responsible one. He's supposed to be the one who is able to like see these signs. Like Maria beats herself up over like, oh, the signs were here and I didn't know that. I guess my skills aren't as sharp as they used to be.
Crows are sharp.
Yeah, crows are supposed to be sharp.
Professional.
Yeah, he's the one who is still active duty. We have no idea how long it's been since Maria's even gone on a hunt.
Yeah.
So she has an excuse. Crow doesn't. And I think it kind of snapped into Crow's mind when he saw the apathy burning in the house.
Yeah. That realization of, oh, I fucked up and I'm letting everyone I love down.
Yeah.
Basically.
And then I'll get to Maria next because we still don't know what her deal is. We know that she's a Silver-Eyed Warrior, but we still don't know why she. I know we already talked about this. We don't know why she went back in the first episode. We don't know why she's there
because she didn't know at that time that RWBY was a Silver-Eyed Warrior. So yeah.
Yeah. But she's, and we kind of already explained how the apathy wasn't affecting her because she was already, like, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always apathetic.
Kind of, yeah. She was just kind of going through the flow, yeah.
Yeah. Then you got Oscar, who is
Although
losing.
I do think the
who is
reason that
losing.
she picked up the journal specifically was because she was okay. Let's see if I can figure out what happened here so we can deal with it.
Well, that's why she kept on reading.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, her whole goal was to like just find a bedtime story for everyone.
That's what she said, but she's giving off a lot of Yoda vibes, where like from The Empire Strikes Back, where it's like she says things, but she's smarter and she's got more ideas than she lets on.
You know, a lot of people like to say like
there's more purpose to what she does than she lets on.
I know people like to say like Maz Kanata, but like I'm getting like some Gran Torino vibes here.
You mean Yoda, because Gran Torino was literally
Yeah,
just...
I know. That's what I'm saying. I know.
But you don't watch Star Wars, so you don't get... You really need to watch Star Wars. You will understand My Hero Academia a lot better, because there are so many Star Wars references in that series.
I fucking know about Yoda, okay? I at least know Yoda.
Okay.
But no, I swear to God, if next episode Ruby is like carrying Maria on her back...
running around with Maria on her shoulders. Oh good, you do know that.
I swear to all that is George Lucas, I will laugh.
I watched the first 3 films, okay? So at least to know something.
Yeah.
That'll be one of those moments of, okay, Miles and Carrie, you're going to get sued by New Line Cinema, Studio Bones, and now LucasArts.
Now watch them be like, oh, we were actually taking inspiration from My Hero Academia for that.
For moments. It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. It wouldn't.
Even though My Hero Academia was ripping off Star Wars with that.
Yeah.
But you know,
Oscar was losing control over his body. He just found out that he's just going to be another one of Ozma's lives.
Yep.
So he has no idea what to do. He has no idea how much control he actually has. He knows he's in control now because Ozma's hiding away like a bitch. But
we calls it like we sees it.
And Ozma / Ozpin, the cat's out of the bag, and he is refusing to actually deal with the consequences for his lies and deceit.
Yeah. I almost wonder if like he was also being effective at the end. They're like just like, yeah, I can just let Oscar do everything. Oh shit, what was going on out there?
Well, I mean, that was before they.
That might be kind of funny actually. If he
area.
kind of pops out like in the next episode or something like that. Like Oscar's eyes just suddenly glow yellow. He's like, "What the fuck happened?" I suddenly became very apathetic and things got weird, and everybody's just like, "Just go back in there."
I sense a disturbance. Oh no!
Yeah,
did someone cut Yang's hair?
Yeah.
And then I forgot what I was gonna say because I was looking at a meme and it just I was looking at memes on my phone and it just totally derailed my train of thought.
Damn it, media.
Where does this leave Cinder?
Yeah, when's Cinder gonna catch up to them? Is she gonna catch up to them in Argus? On the way to Argus? That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, she's like 2 to 3 weeks behind everything.
Yeah, so like when when she's talking to Little Miss Malachite, they've already left. Like they left the house 2 weeks ago in her timeline. So yeah, that's a good question. I feel like we'll probably get an idea of it next episode. Like hopefully, I don't know. It's nice not like it's nice to be wondering about this kind of, like last of all to pretty much figure out, everything that was gonna go down. Same with Volume 4. A lot of times we can kind of see where things are going. It's kind of nice to be thinking like, okay, where do they go from here? What's next? So yeah, that's kind of nice.
But because we know that Cinder, we don't actually know that. I actually doubt it. I doubt we'll have them until Team RWBY arrives in Argus. And then, I don't know. Yeah, we will not have Team Junior until they arrive in Argus. I really doubt it. A lot of people are being like, oh, we're halfway through the volume now. That means we can jump over to Team Juniper. Like, no, it doesn't mean we get to automatically jump to Team Juniper. Well, we're learning about the Silver Eyes next episode. But no, but my point is that because Cinder is weak to Silver Eyes, I was thinking that like RWBY wouldn't be able to learn how to master her Silver Eyes until after things are resolved with Cinder. But that's not the case anymore, and I'm a little worried about that because being a credible threat,
completely bury Cinder.
A credible threat isn't the same as being portrayed as a credible threat. It's not the same. It's not the same thing as actually being able to build tension. They can still do that without Cinder actually being seemingly a threat.
Like
but I don't know how they're going to do that.
Isn't the same as showing that person's been improving.
Yeah, and I'm thinking Cinder needs to build some kind of immunity or resistance to RWBY Silver Eyes. Now, someone has suggested, I can't remember who, but someone suggested that she's going to remove her Grimm arm and replace it with the cyborg arm so that she's not as weak to Silver Eyes. I would be totally down for that. Or just building up a resistance, like it doesn't work as well as it did back in Volume 5. Like that, I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, she has been exposed to it like twice now, so she could potentially get in and just be like, not as bad the third time.
Yeah, it was actually Secure who was like, dude, she like got dropped down to her knees in Volume 5. Like, yeah, and the first time in Volume 3, it melted half of her body. They kind of proving my point here.
It melted her face. Yeah.
Kind of proving my point here.
Yeah, it melted her face and tore her arm off.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe she is developing an immunity. Like, yep, not as bad.
I do think. I don't know if Cinder's going to die this volume, but I do think RWBY's going to beat her this volume, and she's not going to be as relevant. Like, I think she'll still be around, for extra muscle, for extra characterization, for extra development and stuff. But I don't think she's going to be like a main threat after this volume. Because she's kind of like running out of time. Because once RWBY learns how to master her Silver Eyes, Cinder's basically not a threat anymore at all, and there's no way that they can rectify that. Which makes it even more important for Cinder to like have Neo with her, recruit Adam if she needs to, or if they run into each other, which I still think is going to happen. And actually have a team together that can take on Team RWBY.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if it's right now, it's Cinder, Neo,
something
and
I would
possibly
kind of
Adam.
like actually.
Possibly Adam. Who would be the fourth member?
I don't know. Something I would kind of like actually is if I don't know, maybe they can salvage Adam's character if because I know a lot of us think he's gonna die this volume, but actually maybe one way they can salvage his character is if he's is if like I don't know, is if like he runs into Blake and just starts smacking around. He's like, guess what? I don't care about you anymore. I'm done. You know, I tried. You claim that I got into your head. Well, you got into my head. That's not happening anymore. Now I'm just a guy who wants to kill your ass. But I don't know. Probably not. And they probably don't care enough about him to do it. But But as for like a fourth member,
not a lot of options.
Not really, yeah.
Unless you have someone like that drops off from lost his little.
Yeah, like Emerald. Emerald goes looking for Cinder. I can see that happening. Emerald and Mercury go looking for Cinder, and they track her down.
Just like old times, huh?
Maybe.
That's I don't think I have anything else to say about this episode. So, final thoughts. I think it was good. I think it's in.
What do you think they'll make it to Argus?
By episode 10. I think episode 10 they'll arrive at Argus and have a big fight with something that tries ambushing them there. And then it'll start ramping up for the finale.
Maybe.
I am fine with the next 4 episodes being not so good if the last 4 episodes of this volume can be as good as these first 6. Because you gotta brace for the drop in quality. This is the longest the show has gone without an outright bad episode. There hasn't been an outright terrible episode yet. Like even last week, we could have said that because I don't know if I did this rundown last week or not, but in Volume 1, the first outright bad episode was probably the First Step Part 2, which would have been the 5th week / second half of the 3rd episode, because Volume 1 was stupid like that. In Volume 2, the first outright bad episode, I would say, was the 3rd episode, Minor Hiccup. And then extra, if not that, then Extracurricular definitely was one of the worst episodes of that volume. And that was episode 5. In Volume 3, episode 2 was an outright bad episode, the worst episode of that volume. And then episode 4 and 5 weren't very good either. In Volume 4, episode 3 and episode 5 were both awful.
Aren't those just Blake episodes?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I figured, yeah.
In fact, every episode with Blake in it was the worst of the volume. Episodes 3, 5, then after that, her next appearance was an 8, even though her scene in episode 8 was good. But that just so happened to be the same as the big, 18-minute long exposition dump. And then her last appearances were in episode 9, where she was the worst part of that episode, and then episode 11, and then brief appearances in episode 12 as well. And then in volume 5, episode 3 was pretty bad. Episode 5 was arguably the worst episode of the entire series, but probably not even the worst episode of that volume. It was the worst episode of the series up to that point, though. And then episode 6 was also pretty bad, and episode 7 was terrible as well, and it only got worse and worse after that.
Yeah, so this is the longest they've gone without an outright terrible episode, which kind of has us nervous about, okay, is it all
downhill from here?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that episode 4 is the volume's low point, but boy, I don't know.
I have high hopes. I figured
they've gotten this far, and it's very and as we pointed out, it's clear that they're little things and they're making an effort to do better. So I'm really hoping that this is the first really, really good volume that we get. So
yeah, so far, they haven't
which will not make us forget volume 5, but it will at least make us feel good about the future.
Yeah, it's so far they haven't disappointed me. There's I have nitpicks here and there, but so far they haven't disappointed me. And and look, people can stop bitching about the goddamn house now.
Yeah, they're out of the house. That's also good. So yeah.
I've been telling them, and they never fucking listen. It's only you guys listen to me. It's they're not gonna. They're not gonna have the
I mean,
characters stuck in the goddamn house.
I said it that like no, they've been pretty adamant about changing locations every episode or two. They're not going to be stuck in the house for the rest of the volume. You're insane.
Yeah.
That was the one
but,
criticism that
yeah,
they continuously said like, yeah, we get that one. We get how that could be boring.
Yeah, we know what we did
Even though it
wrong
wasn't
there.
really because they were stuck in a house, it was because they didn't do anything in that house. It's because all they did was sit around and do nothing in that house. That's why it was bad.
Yeah, this time around they actually did something in the house.
Yeah,
and the house is actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah, the house is actually kind of interesting.
We were promised bossing to say, and they bossing said nothing but lies.
Yes.
Hey.
No Rooster Teeth lie is as bad as frickin' Nomad. Samurai Jack meets Lord of the Rings. My fucking taint.
Yeah.
The saltiest part of my left testicle.
Yeah.
I need to do a video on Nomad. I really do, but I don't want to I don't want to rewatch it. I really don't. That's gonna be a hard sell for me. I have so many. It's just the RWBY season, like when the volume's coming out, is just such a busy time for me. Not just because of RWBY, but because of like just everything else going on. That like I don't have time to do scripted content. I don't have time to record stuff. I don't have time to edit. But I have so many ideas for the off season this year, including and this one I might come out with this during Christmas break because we're gonna have a week off. There's not gonna be an episode for Christmas / New Year's. I might come out with an honest look at Crow at that time.
That'd be a good point.
I'll hold off on that if it looks like they're still going to go somewhere with him, and I'll wait until after the volume is over. Yeah. But that'll definitely come during the off season. And then most of the off season is going to be honest look at RWBY stuff, which I'm separating into different parts, going like aspect by aspect, lighting, sound design, music. Everything. And then when I'm done with that, I'll like roll them all together into like a big hour-long epic.
Oh my.
But that'll be all the honest looks during the off season. And then I also have my untapped potential video games I want to do, and I also want to revive some Mediocrity verses. I want to do a Christmas movie this month.
8 Crazy Nights?
No.
It's a Wonderful Life?
Probably.
I know you.
But yeah, if that's all of our final thoughts.
I think so.
We guys just like, as few words as possible, what do you think the next episode's going to consist of?
I think it's going to be Silver Eye training, and I think we're going to catch up with the villains again.
Robert?
I think Silver Eyes, and I really think we're going to get at least some little glimpse of Junior. Just a brief one.
I'm going to say they're probably just going to cock tease us with mostly the villains, and then maybe like RWBY gang popping up in Argus or something like that. Because I don't see them just spotting like a camp or something like that.
Yeah, I don't see too many more episodes with them traveling.
Yeah.
Because they've already, and because I mean they're on a vehicle now, they're no longer walking, which suck it Volume 4. I love you, but that was really stupid. Why couldn't they just take the train or just bikes? You could have literally had every single plot point still happen exactly the way it did, but just have the in-between stuff be them on bikes, and nothing would have changed. and it would have been less dumb.
You transfer from one season of Yu-Gi-Oh to another, and it's card games to card games on motorcycles. It's the same thing.
Card games on motorcycles.
I love the season finale we just got for that.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, yeah. You were his daughter this whole time? Yeah, you'd think it's something we would have paid more attention to.
Yeah, that's... Oh, God. Oh, and Hellsinger Bridge is ending soon. It's ending this month.
Rosa teeth, like a shock. Waiting for the second part, though.
Yeah. I am also liking Final Fantasy VII Machina Bridge.
I don't give a fuck about Final Fantasy, so I haven't even watched any of that.
Well,
I don't care too much, but it's still really good and really funny.
As a fan of Final Fantasy and all that, it is. I do find it really cool. I like it, so you can suck a dick me on that. I don't give a damn.
Isn't Smash Ultimate coming out in like a week?
Yeah, it comes out next. Is it?
I need to get a Switch. I'd ask someone for a Switch for Christmas, but I don't think anyone's gonna spend that kind of money on me.
It's like $200 to $300 for a Switch.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to wait until tax time and then get it for myself.
I mean, that just means you probably missed out on Piranha Plant.
No, I'm a Link main.
I
Uh,
got Greninja. I'm okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so final plugins. Since we already kind of stopped talking about RWBY.
I guess just follow me on my Twitter if you guys want.
Keep checking out my fanfic. I have actually started working on a script for another video. It's going to be kind of a comprehensive look into why fandoms ship heroes with villains and stuff like that. And I think it's actually going to be
goody.
Ooh, nice.
It has nothing. I'll tell you this. It has very little to do with it has very little to do with any kind of queer representation, and it is all about the structure of the characters and basically the dynamic between heroes and their opponents. So yeah, that's what it's going to be.
Oof.
Talking about.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. Support my Patreon. Like, comment, subscribe. Watch my other content. I'd make more non-RWBY content if more people watched it. Because I do this because I want to. I'm doing this for me, but because of that, I sometimes fall into apathy, and I don't want to put in the effort to do it. I just keep it all in my head. But you guys,
media,
all help with that.
Media,
yeah.
Life is beautiful, and it must be defended.
Life is Beautiful is not a good movie, though. It's very overrated.
Your subscribers are beautiful, and they must be protected.
Although Roberto Benigni, I can't even pronounce his name right. Like, this whole joke is derailing because I can't pronounce the actor's name. Life is Beautiful is a movie that came out in the 90s and won a bunch of awards. Holocaust film.
It's okay. Yeah.
Probably better than The Pianist, but The Pianist has a bunch of extra baggage because of the director is a fucking scumbag. The Pianist is another Holocaust film, but it was directed by Roman Polanski, and it came out right when all the freaking stuff with Roman Polanski happened, and he freaking left the United States. He fled the United States to avoid prison.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because he was like a freaking, scum.
Yeah.
If you don't know, I ain't gonna tell you. Just Google that, because I don't want to talk about it.
Right, anyway.
And I don't want to talk about how they freaking gave him an award with all that happening. It just really shows the hypocrisy that's in Hollywood. Because it's not even a good movie. They could have easily just given it to someone else.
Really?
Okay, no, I gotta get off the subject. The Oscars are
Anyway,
dumb.
yeah, sorry.
The Academy Awards are dumb.
I wouldn't know. I don't watch TV.
I like the concept. I like some of their nominees, but overall it's dumb. It's a dumb award show. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. That's it for my plugins. I will warn you, if you follow me on Twitter, I post some very political stuff on Twitter. I always feel like I have to give a fair warning because most people don't want that on their Twitter feed. Most people that are like into RWBY and stuff, they don't want that in their Twitter feed. So other than that, tune in next time when we talk about next week's episode with Silver Eyes, and we have more people, and it'll probably be longer. So
that's just par for the course, media. That's just par for the course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Later.